Before anything else po, let's have a quick review regarding the past lessons that we had. First, we have one sample z-test. You will use one sample z-test if you want to check if the given sample is a representation of the population, and the number of samples should be greater than or equal to 30. Next is one sample t-test. We will use one sample t-test if we want to check if there is a difference between the given sample and the population, and the number of samples should be less than 30. Third statistical test is z-test for proportion. You have to use z-test for proportion if the given values are in proportion. Next is person-R correlation. We use person-R correlation if you want to know if there is a relationship between the two given variables. Lesson 12, Regression Analysis, the last lesson for this subquarter and this semester. The statistical tool test that is considered as the very powerful tool in the field of statistics is the regression analysis. Regression analysis is considered as the very powerful tool because you can predict the value of the variable given the value of another variable. In a way, what they're trying to say is that given an x variable, we can predict an approximate value of another variable, which is yung y. In regression analysis, the variable that we want to predict is called the dependent variable, or sometimes the outcome variable, and the other one is the independent variable. The value for the independent variable is always given. So parang siya yung given value, and then the dependent variable is the approximate number given the independent variable. Next is you also have to take note that in regression analysis, the variables that we consider should be in the interval or ratio scale of measurement. So in regression analysis, we have the so-called regression analysis equation, wherein we will use this equation to predict values for another variable or for the dependent variables. The equation that we will use is y is equal to a plus bx. This equation po is similar with slope-intercept form, wherein you can get the values of y given an intercept and a slope. We can use an equation for regression analysis to predict the dependent variable because the graph, or parang we assume muna that the variables in regression that we consider in regression analysis is or has a relationship. Parang hindi ka pwedeng mag-come up with a regression analysis unless there is a significant relationship between the two variables. Sure ka na may relationship yung dalawang variables for us to come up with the dependent value for the dependent variable. Kasi kaya nga siya meron tayong equation, we can form a line through the graphs of the two variables na meron tayo. Diba last time, sa last lesson, we already discussed na if we are sure that there is a relationship between the two given variables, if we plot the points for those two variables in an coordinate plane, or igagraph lang natin siya, we can draw a straight line from the points for those two variables. So, kaya tayo nakaka-form ng equation. So, from a line, we can come up with an equation. Kaya po, we can predict the values of the dependent variable. So, for the regression analysis, we assume na there is a relationship between the two given variables, and given this equation, we can predict the approximate values for the dependent variable. Going back to the regression analysis equation, we identify the variables that we will use. So we have y as the independent variable, and then a is for the y-intercept, and b is the slope of the line, and then x is the dependent variable. Ngayon, if you will ask me if you have to graph the values given in the problem so that we can come up with the slope and the intercept form? My answer is no po. We have a formula for A and another formula for B, or for the slope and the intercept values, so that you will not graph the given numerical values. All you have to do is follow the given formula. So for the intercept, or for letter A, the formula is the summation of y multiplied by the summation of x squared minus the summation of x multiplied by the summation of xy, all over n multiplied by the summation of x squared minus the summation of x squared. Next, for B naman po, or for the slope, the formula is n multiplied by the summation of xy minus the summation of x multiplied by the summation of y, all over n multiplied by the summation of x squared minus the summation of x squared. And same with the previous lesson po, n stands for the number of data pairs. Let's begin with problem number 1. For the first problem, we have the data below shows the enrollment of KMO University for the past 5 years. Determine the enrollment in 8 years. First, we know that this is under regression analysis because of the last sentence na determine the enrollment in 8 years. Diba? Parang we are trying to predict the number of enrollments for given this number of years. That's why this problem is under regression analysis. Again, you will use a regression analysis statistical test if you want to predict something. Since the relationship between these two given variables is already established, kasi nga what you're going to do is just to try to find out how many enrollments will be made in 8 years, diba po? So, assuming na meron talaga siyang relationship. So, ibig sabihin po, no need to go through the step-by-step process. All we have to do is predict the number of enrollment in 8 years. All you have to do is just compute, and we don't have any step-by-step procedure for regression analysis. For the manual computation po, kindly follow the steps. So first, we have to come up with a table wherein you write down all the values for your x and the values for your y. And you also have to draw a column, or parang construct a column for x multiplied by y and another column for x squared, because these are the values that we need to get in order for us to get the value for a and b. Just like what we did in the previous lesson, for us to come up with the summation of xy in this lesson, yung regression analysis, all you have to do is multiply the values for the x and y. Let us first identify the values for the column x multiplied by y. So we have the first value of x as 1 and the first y value is 950. So 1 times 950, the answer is 950. Next value is 2 multiplied by 1020. The answer is 2040. Third value, we have 3 multiplied by 1150. The answer is 3450. And multiplying the numerical values in the x column by the numerical values in the y column, this will be the numbers, or this will be the product for the remaining numbers. And then for the values in the column for x squared, all you have to do is square the values in the x column. For the first value of x, we have 1. So we multiply 1 by itself and the answer is still 1. Next value for x is 2. 2 square is 4. The third value of x is 3. So we square 3 and the answer is 9. Squaring all the numerical values in the x column, we will have the values for the x squared as the remaining values of x squared as this. Next is to get all the sum for the all the columns that we have. For the first column, the summation of x is 15. Next, second column, we have the summation of y as 6,352. Next column is the summation of x multiplied by y, and the answer is 21,025. And for the last column, the summation of x squared is 55. If you cannot follow po the instructions here and you cannot manipulate your own calculator, all you have to do po is send me a picture of your calculator, and from there, I will just guide you. Shortcut method po for problems under regression analysis. So we first input the values, the x and y values, by changing the mode to stat, and then a plus bx, and then we input the values for x as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then for the y values, we have we have 950, and then 1020 equal sign 1150 equal sign 1575 equal sign, and then 57, and then equal sign. And then after placing all the values, we press on, and then we compute for the summations by pressing shift and then stat and then sum, and then we have to get the summation of xy. So the summation of xy is number 5 in this calculator, and then equal sign. This is the value for the summation of xy, and then the summation of x squared. So that is number 1, and then equal sign, the summation of x squared is 55. And then to get the summation of x and y, we just do the same procedure po. So the summation of x is 2, and then equal sign, this is the summation of x. And then for the summation of y, we press shift, stat, and then sum, and then summation of y equal sign. This is the summation of y. So that's it po. We have identified the values for the summation and n. We can now solve for the intercept and the slope. Here's the formula for A, or the intercept. So all you have to do is substitute the values for each summation. Substituting the values, we will have 6,352 multiplied by 55 minus 15 multiplied by 21,025 all over 5 times 55 minus 15 squared. I highly discourage you po to directly solve the values for A, since sometimes the values for the summation is a number with a bigger value. So it will be hard for you to directly solve it in your calculator po. So I suggest you simplify the numerator first, and then simplify the denominator, and then to get the value of A, all you have to do is divide the numerator by the denominator po. For the values of A in the numerator, we have 6,352 multiplied by 55 minus 15 multiplied by 21,025. Then close. This is the value for your numerator, 33,985. And then for the denominator, we have 5 times 55 minus 15 squared, and the answer is 50. Then dividing the value in the numerator and the denominator, we have 33,985 all over 50. You can use this fraction symbol, or you can also use a division sign. So pressing equal sign, the answer is 679.7. We have to solve for the value of B. So here's the formula for B, or the slope. Substituting the values for n in the summations, we will have the value of B as 5 multiplied by 21,025 minus 15 multiplied by 6,352 all over 5 times 55 minus 15 squared. Just like for the y-intercept or for the value of a, I highly discourage you also to directly solve for the value of b in your calculator, since the summations may have a higher value or a number with a higher value. So it will be hard for you to directly solve it in your calculator if we have a large number of values that we have to input. The value for b, we have the numerator as 5 times 21,025 minus 15 times 6,352, close. The answer is 9,845 for the value in the numerator. And then for the denominator, we have 5. It's just the same. So, instead of computing it, all you have to do is copy it from letter A, yung solution natin from letter A. And the value for the denominator is 50. So, we divide 9,845 by 50. The answer is 196.9. Now that we have the values for A and B po, all you have to do is substitute those values in the regression analysis equation so that we can determine the values for Y given the value of X. For this problem, the value of A is 679.7 and the value of B is 196.9. Substituting the values of A and B in the given regression analysis equation, we'll have the regression analysis equation for this problem as y is equal to 679.7 plus 196.9x. After substituting the values of A and B in the given regression analysis equation, we can now solve for the value of y given the value of x, wherein in this problem we are asked to get the enrollment in 8 years, or yung ika-8th year, how many enrollees do we have. So using the regression analysis equation in this given problem, all you have to do is substitute the value of x and we simplify. Substituting the value of x, our regression analysis equation will be 679.7 plus 196.9 multiplied by 8. For the value of y, if x is 8, we just substitute it in the given equation and we will have 679.7 plus pala 196.9 multiplied by 8. The answer is 2,254.9. If you can notice po, the value of y is rounded off to the nearest whole number, since in this problem, we are talking about the number of enrollees for the y variable. So, since we're talking about individuals and we're talking about people, so we do not parang represent it as a number, a decimal number. So we have to use a whole number to represent the given y variable. And if you can also notice, I used a parang not an equal sign, rather I used the approximation symbol. You call that wavy equal sign as approximation. Why did we use, or why do we have to use approximation for this topic? We all the time po, you have to use approximations because we limit the number of decimal places into 2, and we do not include um, all the decimal numbers. So that's why we have to use the approximation symbol po. And for regression analysis, you also have to take note na since we will not include all the decimal places for this one, and all we have to do is round round off the values into 2 decimal places, the value that you will get for the conclusion, or the value for the y, will always be an approximated value po. For the conclusion, we have the enrollment in the 8th year will be approximately 2,255. You have to indicate the term approximately since we cannot or we just round off the number to the nearest whole number, and the numbers that we get in the regression analysis is just an approximated values for y, the y variable po. In mathematics po, we use the three dots that form a triangle as the symbol for conclusion. So if you want, you can use this symbol, or you can also just write the term conclusion.